The Pittsburgh Steelers sure made it close against the Vikings, but they got the job done. And in doing so, I think they looked as closest as they have to being complete despite all their injuries this season. And I want to talk about why that's a very good sign for the year. I'm Chris Carter. This is the Locked On Steelers podcast. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Steelers, your daily Pittsburgh Steelers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter, bringing you your daily dose of all things on the Pittsburgh Steelers. As always, you can find this show on your favorite podcasting apps and on YouTube. Like this video if you enjoyed. Subscribe to this YouTube channel to get all of your daily Monday through Friday episodes, as well as our bonus content. Thank you for making us your first listen every day because we're your team every day. Pittsburgh Steelers fans, it's a victory Monday because your Pittsburgh Steelers, or it might be a Sunday if you're watching it this early, but your Pittsburgh Steelers went into Dublin, Ireland, and got the dub 24-21 over the Minnesota Vikings in what turned out to be a close game, but the Steelers controlled it for most of the game, and I think the things that they did to control the pace of the game up until the end, where it did get a little close, are very good signs of where this team is and where they are right now is atop the AFC North at 3-1. Heading into their week 4 bye week and a much needed bye week. Early on in the season, when I saw a week 4 bye, I'm like, that's terrible for them, or a week 5 bye, excuse me. But I was like, this is terrible for them. They get 4 games to bye. They absolutely need it. And I think a big part of why they were in this trouble, we'll get to the injuries in a bit and what they might mean. But a big part of the trouble, I think, at the end, you saw that busted play. I think it was to Jordan Addison for 81 yards or so that put the Vikings in position to get close to make the game even closer. As I was counting, Jalen Ramsey, we knew Joey Porter was out for this game. Brandon Echols was down at that point, and we know Corey Trice had been in. 4 of their top 5 cornerbacks were out, and that kind of led to that problem. But despite those problems, and we know they're missing Alex Highsmith, and we know Calvin Austin got into the game, this team found ways to win and played the closest that I've seen them play to the style of ball that I think this team is designed to play all season. What do I mean by that? Well, Jordan Mason, Vikings running back who had a great week last week and was looking pretty strong in what was, I believe, the 6th highest scoring offense going into this game, only averaged 3.6 yards per carry. They limited him in this game, did not let him be a factor. Yes, Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison did go off, each had over 100 yards receiving. But it seemed almost as if the Steelers were like, hey, we're going to give you some plays here and there, but we're going to make sure you can't run the ball, and we're going to give ourselves the chance to make plays. And this defense certainly made plays, finishing the game with 6 sacks, 2 turnovers. Deshon Elliott, huge coming back from his injury in this game, was everywhere, blitzing the quarterback, stuffing the run, breaking up passes, intercepting passes. He was huge to what this defense wanted to be in this game. TJ Watt doing what he does, tipping a pass and intercepting it, getting pressures, throughout the game. I thought he was really sharp in that respect. Even Connor Benton was getting busy in this game. I think he finished with a sack in this contest. Nick Herbig continues to get after it with 1.5 sacks. And Benton actually had 1.5 himself. Excuse me. Patrick Queen, I thought, had a really good day. 11 tackles, a sack, and 2 more tackles for loss on top of the sack. He also had Peyton Wilson playing well. I think what allowed the defense to be this version of their defense, even without some of their key players from in late in the game. But during the main course of the game, they were able to be more aggressive. They stuffed the run so they could be more aggressive on third downs. And what did I say towards the end of the week? I said it, I believe, on the Wednesday show. I said it again on the Friday show. This team, if they want to be good, they got to be better at third downs. They were 28th going into this week, and I said this is a great week for them to reset that problem against the team that was 29th in third down offense, and they did just that. They held the Vikings to 4 of 14 on third downs in this game, oftentimes getting home with pressure and having the right coverage behind them when they didn't get home with pressure. And that was a great culmination of what they were trying to do in this game, forcing the Vikings into more third and longs being able to do it. And we said this the last few weeks. We said, hey, against the Seahawks, they lost. They said they forced a few more third and longs than they did the Jets week. Then the week after that, they forced even more third and longs, but they let them just escape a couple more times than you wanted. This week, that wasn't the issue. The Steelers defense was able to get home. They were sending blitz from the left side, outside, right side, inside. They were coming from everywhere, and that's where I think this defense wants to be. They want to be aggressive, downhill, attacking. You saw Peyton Wilson flying up to the line of scrimmage when he was ready to play. There was a play where he read the screen beautifully, shut it down before it even got going. Patrick Queen, I thought, was doing a great job up the middle. This unit as a defense, we'll get to the offense in a bit because I thought that they did really well as well. I felt that this was the most aggressive and controlling the way a controlling play that they've given this year so far that has allowed and that allowed them to control the pace of play for most of the game. And again, started to break out in the end of the game. And this team was built on being able to have its cornerbacks be able to be aggressive. Even having Brandon Echols, when he came off the field, that was a big difference for the Steelers because he was essentially their first cornerback off the bench. Because remember, Ramsey, Porter, and Slay, not one of those guys is necessarily a backup. They're all supposed to be on the field as much as they can for this team. It's a 3 cornerback team. But they prefer to have those guys out because they want to use them in different coverage situations, use Jalen Ramsey all over the place, let him be a chess piece for the defense. And doing so, Brandon Echols then becomes really the first backup on the team. But when he goes down and you already have 2 other guys gone, Jalen Ramsey had to exit this game, I believe, and Joey Porter Jr. didn't get healthy enough in time to play in this game, then you are up against it because then you are throwing James Pierre out there, and then you're throwing other guys out there that normally wouldn't be on the field. But I thought for the most part, even without Ramsey, and you can even tell he was kind of banged up at one point, the Steelers defense was able to play their style of football. And again, it's blitzing, bringing the heat, getting after the quarterback, making it tough on him, stuffing the run, making them have to win on 3rd and longs that they're uncomfortably going to. And sometimes they'll hit it, and they did. Again, they got 4 times in this one, but that's 29% that they were able to hold them to on 3rd downs. You're going to win a lot of games that if you're able to hold them to 29%. And again, we'll get to the Steelers offense because I think they showed some promise too. They also, I thought, could have finished this game a lot sooner. But still, I don't think there's any doubting this Steelers team is getting closer to figuring it out. And when I say it out, I mean figuring out how to reach the potential that we all saw and we talked about in the offseason, in the spring ball, in the training camp. And when we were saying like, hey, I'm seeing potential. I'm seeing this defense being able to play at a higher level. I'm seeing the potential for this offense, and this offensive line can come together. And I want to talk about that O-line in this next segment. But from Deshon Elliott, you saw him being back, how big of an impact he made in this game. Imagine if they had him against the Seahawks 2 weeks ago. This team, this defense would have been even better then. Imagine if they had him last week. Maybe they make even more turnovers happen, right? I thought they did a really good job containing what the Vikings did. And again, this was the 6th highest scoring offense or scoring team going into this game. And again, their defense wasn't nothing to sneeze at either. They were the 11th best scoring defense going into this game. But the Steelers continue to find answers in this game. They were able to draw up different things. I thought the Steelers largely in this game out-schemed the Vikings. They were able to get pressures in the right points, put them in the advantageous situations. The Vikings kind of needed some of the breaks to roll their way in this game for them to even be able to stay in it, but it wasn't enough. The Steelers outplayed them, outmaneuvered them, and the Steelers found a way to win in the end, even with a few things bouncing away from them. But like I said, it wasn't just the defense being closer to who they're supposed to be. And again, the pass rush being a big factor, the coverage being better, even without their top players back there still with Ramsey. You hope that Ramsey and Porter can come back after the bye. But the offense also looked closer to what you wanted this offense to look like for a very long time. And granted, this is the first year still that you're seeing Troy Fautanu play right tackle, Broderick Jones play left tackle, and you're seeing them come together. But I do think you're seeing them come together in a good way. And you also saw it when you needed backups on the offensive side of the ball. We'll talk about that next year on the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter. Stick with us. We still have a lot to discuss in the Locked On Steelers podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks, the daily fantasy platform where making the right call can actually pay off. You and I make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right means cashing in. With football back, Prize Picks is the simplest and fastest way to get in on the action. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player projections, and you can turn your takes into real prizes all in less than 60 seconds. Playing Prize Picks is such a fun way to stay locked in for the season. It's quick, easy, and honestly, my favorite way to follow along with football. I love checking my projections with Josh Allen, more or less than 270 passing yards, or Saquon Barkley, more or less than 1 rushing touchdown. Download the Prize Picks app today, and you can use Locked On NFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code Locked On NFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup, only on Prize Picks. Prize Picks, run your game. We're also brought to you by Rougiette. Guys, you've probably heard of Viagra or Cialis. Maybe you've even tried them. But if you're looking for something beyond the usual pill, it's time to meet Rougiette Go Long. That's where Rougiette's Go Long comes in. It's not just another ED bill. It's a total game changer for confidence. Go Long combines 2 doctor-trusted medications in one dual-action formula so you can get hard and go the distance. The effects can last up to 36 hours. That's confidence all day, all night, and even into the next day. The process is simple. Connect with a board-certified doctor 100% online, and if prescribed, your treatment ships discreetly right to your door and to your door very quickly. Ready to level up your confidence in the bedroom? Head to Rougiette.com/LockedOnNFL and use code LockedOnNFL to get 15% off today. That's RUGIET.com/LockedOnNFL. Use promo code LockedOnNFL to get 50% off to be Rougiette and Go Long. Back here on the Locked On Steelers podcast, I'm your host, Chris Carter. We continue our episode here today. We switch it to the offense. I wanted to lead with the defense because I thought that they made several plays that show that they were getting closer to who they wanted to be, and I thought that they ended up winning the game. Deshon Elliott with the breakup at the end. He had a sack, an interception. We talked about what he did. TJ Watt being phenomenal in this game. Nick Herbig, all those guys. But it's also the offense that I thought had a really good day when you look at some of the things that the Steelers offense did. And granted, they could be cleaner on certain things. They were only 4 of 10 on 4th down conversions. Granted, that's higher than the Vikings because they were at 29%, Steelers at 40%. And you did see them take a hit in the red zone. 2 out of 5, only 2 out of the 5 trips in the red zone resulted in touchdowns. Had a blocked field goal, had that stop at the 1-inch line. But I do think, again, you saw this unit come together a bit better. They did give up that opening sack of the game on the first play of the game. You had Redmond just walk through and sack Aaron Rodgers. And then there was another play where it looked like Isaac Seumalo allowed the same thing to happen there. 2 gaff ups there. But the O-line, outside of those 2 just mental errors right there, they played a lot better when they were on their P's and Q's. Still not the greatest, still not the sharpest, but they were a big reason why Kenneth Gainwell was able to run 19 times for 99 yards, an average of 5.2 yards per carry. Oh, and by the way, 2 touchdowns, and was an inch away from making it a 3rd touchdown. And if he gets that, he gets 100 yards on 19 carries, and that would have been huge. But even Caleb Johnson had a few nice runs in this game that I thought were a good sign. They did their sort of wildcat tush push play where they were to pull that out. This offensive line got better and is getting better. Broderick Jones, I thought was played a lot better, a lot cleaner on his side of the ball. I also think he deserves points, even though they didn't end up getting points because this is on the blocked field goal drive. But Aaron Rodgers ran for a first down, which I was like, what in the world is he doing? You see Broderick Jones, when he loses the ball goes right up in the air. Broderick Jones catches it. And yes, there's luck in that. There's luck in the bounce. But Broderick Jones hustling after Aaron Rodgers when he sees him run instead of being like, oh, look at that guy go. He's like, no, I'm following the play. That's coaching. That's effort. That's following through and being ready and being lucky. Sometimes luck is just preparation meeting opportunity. And that was a situation where it was luck, but Broderick Jones hustling on the play, being ready for the moment, certainly helped out the Steelers. Now, it didn't end up working out for them because they didn't get the field goal because it was blocked later that drive. But I thought that was better. And I thought the offensive line being able to move guys consistently opened up space. And Jaylen Warren, a guy that I was expecting to play this week from the things that I had heard from the Steelers, ends up not playing. But Kenneth Gainwell comes in and has a really good day. 19 carries, 99 yards, 2 touchdowns. Also, 6 catches on 6 targets for 35 yards. He was huge in this game, and I can't say enough about Kenneth Gainwell. I'm tempted to give him a 3-star grade tomorrow for our grades episode for Tuesday, but man, I really thought this Steelers team brought it in the run game, and this was the thing that we've been saying needed to happen for this Steelers offense to really start to click. And I do think that it did. Now they did have some stalls in the end there. I think that's the frustrating part of this is that you had the second half where you 3-and-out to start the second half. You did get the touchdown drive when you got the interception from T.J. Watt, but then you stall out, you get a field goal. And then you also have the turnover on downs where you turn it over at the goal line, and then you just get a little short on your on that drive before the end of the game when they punted. But still, you look at their drives. I mean, their first drive didn't go well. They got sacked and it set them back. But after that first drive, you got a touchdown, and then you had that blocked field goal 3 straight times where you moved the ball and put yourself in scoring position. And then you did that again 3 straight times in the second half. Granted, one time was a field goal, another time you didn't finish the drive there. But I thought this was a lot closer to what the Steelers could be in this could be with their offense when things start to hum. And again, no Jaylen Warren, also Calvin Austin getting hurt. Was reported from Brooke Pryor that he was seen in an ambulance and he was in a sling. Now, I don't think that the ambulance means he was getting taken to a hospital for critical emergencies or anything like that. I think that's just the way facilities work here in Ireland. I'm also still here in Ireland, if you couldn't tell. I've been in Dublin, Ireland since a lot earlier in the week and been able to take in the sights. I also got to say, the environment was crazy. Just all the fanfare, all the fans, Steelers fans packed that place out. The terrible towels were everywhere. It was nuts. But it was a lot of fun to be part of, and you could feel the energy from the Steelers. As they started to feel the crowd and get pumped up. I just remember seeing Patrick Queen when Peyton Wilson stuffed a second down screen pass where they thought they would catch him napping. You can see Patrick Queen being like, yes, we're getting it. We're putting it together. And the crowd was getting hyped and feeding off of it. You could see there was there was a connection there. So kudos to Steelers fans. Also, shout out to all the Steelers fans who said hi to me this week. I appreciate all of y'all. Can't remember every one of your names because there were so many, but I really do appreciate everyone who stops to say hi because it's always appreciated. I mean, I do remember some of your names, but if I don't say all of them, I feel bad. So I think everyone who's been so nice and so welcoming and complimenting the show means a lot. But back to the offense, you had the run game working, and then but also remember what set up the run game, the pass game. And that's what we said earlier in the week. Pass to set up the run. And the Steelers got the pass game going. And what started to happen? The run game started to feed off of it. You had DK Metcalf, even before the touchdown. We'll talk about the touchdown in a sec. But Aaron Rodgers, I believe it was a 3rd down and long. And it's cover 2. I believe it's a cover 2 zone. And again, I'm sitting in the stands. I was not in the press box of this game. I got to sit in the stands, get to be with my wife and some friends. It was a wonderful experience. But I just remember seeing cover 2 zone and DK Metcalf gets just behind the defender, but the defender's buzzing underneath. He's waiting for Aaron Rodgers to underthrow his ball. Rodgers throws a perfect pass just over the corner so that the safety can't come down and help. And DK Metcalf goes up and makes a great catch in traffic on the sideline, moving the chains. That was elite stuff from both of them on that play. And then, of course, you just have the 80-yard catch and run where it's a hit over the middle, and then DK Metcalf does what he does well, and he takes off. And his speed was incredible on that play. And then also to finish the play with a strong run to get into the end zone and make sure that he finished the play there. DK Metcalf, 5 catches on 5 targets for 126 yards and a touchdown. That's wide receiver 1 stuff. That's the stuff that you paid for to go get. And Aaron Rodgers, even though you didn't put up as you thought you could have put up some more points, 18 of 22 for 200 passing yards, a touchdown, no interceptions, a 119.7 passer rating. So you had a running back that was a yard shy of 100 yards. You had a quarterback who was efficient, didn't have to throw a whole lot, but he was efficient. And you had your number 1 wide receiver taking over. And you had a game where you weren't dependent on your running back to be your leading wide receiver, even though the guy right after DK Metcalf on the stat sheet was Kenneth Gainwell, running back, but we're not going to have to go all there. I do think there's still some things to clean up. I thought Arthur Smith called a good game for the most part. Again, getting this offense going. Are there things you complain about? Sure. I still don't understand why Pat Freiermuth is like not involved in the passing game at all. And it's like you say that Darnell Washington got some nice receptions, 3 catches for 20 yards on 3 targets. And Jonno Smith got a couple catches. I don't understand where Roman Wilson is. It looked like he didn't even see the field in this game. But again, as an offense, you're looking for answers, and they're finding them. They're running the ball. They were so much more efficient in this game, and that was still with some quirky things that bounced against them and some key injuries. Jaylen Warren, no shade to Jaylen Warren. I think if Jaylen Warren's in this game, he eats the way that Kenneth Gainwell eats, and maybe even better, because I think that Jaylen Warren's still a very good player. But the thing that I was concerned about Jaylen Warren, and I said this last week and maybe 2 weeks ago with Alan Saunders, I said the big thing that I'm concerned about Jaylen Warren is, could he take the rigor of a 17-game season as the RB1 who takes a lot of snaps and a lot of hits throughout a game with his size? And you saw this week, the Steelers had to hold him out. And it looked like he could have played, maybe could have, but the Steelers saw something Saturday and said, we're holding you back. And Kenneth Gainwell came up big, and that's where the standard thing comes from. Is you say, hey, back up, you ready to get in there and make some plays? And Kenneth Gainwell reminded me a lot of Mewelde Moore in the 2008 season for the Steelers, with all the times that he would fill in, not just when Willie Parker was hurt, but when they needed a good third down back and a big play, he would come up with so many plays in the right moments. Wasn't a big stats guy, but definitely filled in. And I thought that's what Kenneth Gainwell did in this game. But again, from Aaron Rodgers being efficient, DK Metcalf being a playmaker, Kenneth Gainwell filling in well, the offensive line playing better, this offense looked a lot closer to what it's being designed to be. And that, to me, is a very good sign for the Steelers moving forward with this with what they're trying to be this year. And if the offense and the defense are both pointed in the right direction, both trending positively in different aspects and becoming closer to the image that they want to be, imagine what it'll be like when those two units align for a complete game, where you see the offense teeing off, running the ball well, using play action, to mixing the pass and the run well, being that balanced offense that I think they really want to be with Aaron Rodgers in this run game, and that's coupled with a defense that's stuffing the run on early downs, getting after the quarterback, sacking the quarterback, and creating turnovers that way, and creating it on their own terms. That's where I think this Steelers team can still be so much better than even it is right now. And again, as it is right now, week 4, and again, I'm recording this during the 1 p.m. games in Eastern time. I'm still here in Dublin, so it's actually like nighttime here, which is kind of crazy. But in all that, I still see this as a team that has ways to go, and they're 3-1 going into their week 5 bye, and they're most likely, I think they are in first place in the division. I think that's pretty much sealed, I believe, looking around. I guess the Bengals could win against the Broncos on Monday Night Football. So I guess that's the one thing that could make it different. But the Steelers, either way, would be 3-1. I had them at 2-2 going into the bye. I thought they were going to lose that Patriots game last week because they just never won there. And they're getting the bye week, what actually turns out to be the right time. If they are injured, and I want to talk about those injuries and what the Steelers might need to be looking out for moving forward, because that's going to be a big topic of concern if some of these injuries are longer lasting based off of whatever they are, because I don't have the full news on that as I'm just getting back from the stadium here. But we'll talk about what all those things are next year on the Locked On Steelers podcast. Chris Carter will be right back. But first, I want to remind you this show is also brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Caffeine just got a flavor upgrade, and if you know anything about that, that's because the 5 Hour Energy shots deliver tasty caffeine in 17 bold flavors. Each 2-ounce shot packs the caffeine of a premium 12-ounce coffee plus B vitamins and nutrients with 0 sugar and 0 crashes. What I love most is how portable they are. Big taste, tiny shot. You can take it anywhere and get that boost when you need it. Honestly, I love how fast it kicks in and that it's sugar-free, so I don't have to worry about crashing later. It's the fall, so if you're looking for great flavors to mix with cooler weather, try out gingerbread snap or pumpkin spice. Even with boring, flavorless caffeine, it's time to give your caffeine a flavor upgrade with 5 Hour Energy shots. Get the favorites that you love to be bold and try something new in-store and online at www.5hourenergy.com or visit on Amazon today to get your 5 Hour Energy. We're also brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure that you're ready for all the action with this can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers to FanDuel can just bet just $5, and you'll get back $300 in bonus bets if you win on your first $5 bet, and you can use those $300 in bonus bets all across the app. I love using FanDuel because it fits in where however you like to bet. Player props, building a same-game parlay, or even jumping in live as the action unfolds. It makes every game more exciting, whether you're watching your team or just keeping an eye on your fantasy lineup. It's quick, easy, and the best way to add a little more energy to your Sundays. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet and get your chance to win $300 in bonus bets only at FanDuel. We're back here in the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter. We continue to talk about the Steelers' win over the Vikings. And I want to say this again, because I do think that we're seeing this again, like we said, this all last week. People are so upset that the Steelers won that you think that the Steelers are 1-3. You think that they lost by 30. And you saw people talk, oh, this was terrible. You just can't win. You can't win this way. And then they go and win that way. And it's like, well, if you can't win this way, then why did they win that way? People want to be miserable all the time. But I do think there are some warning signs on that they could become much bigger warning signs if things don't play out the way the Steelers hope they do when it comes to injuries. Let's talk about the injuries that piled up in this game, because particularly at a position that was supposed to be a prime part of what the Steelers wanted to do this year, the cornerback position is something of concern. Jalen Ramsey looked like he kind of got banged up in this game and then wasn't himself and eventually had to come out the game. That was a rough spot for the Steelers, who they're already down. Joey Porter Jr., who's supposed to be the future of this cornerback room, that wasn't a good look. And then you had Brandon Echols go down at one point. And at that point, between those three and Corey Trice, that's 4 of the top 5 cornerbacks that you brought into this roster not available to you. Now, Brandon Echols did eventually return, but I kind of felt like he returned just because they needed him out there, because they had nobody else out there. You kind of threw in another guy out there at the last second. And I think that played into the Jordan Addison busted coverage play, where there was just a breakdown there, because eventually you just run out of guys that can keep playing. And the Steelers need to be wary of that becoming a bigger issue, I think, in the coming months, because you get this week 4 bye and it could be perfect. Joey Porter Jr., it sounded like he was very close to playing this week, so you expect him to come back after the bye, but you don't know the situation of Jalen Ramsey. You don't know if Brandon Echols' injury is serious, and you're hoping that, hey, everyone week 5, you're back, you're ready to go. You can take on the Browns and the Bengals, start the AFC North off right, and get things going. But this is now going to be a 13-week stretch where you're not going to have a bye week in between. And that could prove challenging for this team, because if they run into a situation like this, where their cornerback room is hurt up and they're scraping the bottom of the barrel with James Pierre needing to play significant snaps, and they're against a really good team that's like, the Bills, the Lions, the Ravens late in the season, this is the kind of stuff that can derail what you're trying to do defensively. Now, to give the Steelers credit, though, it did derail some things in the end. On the final drive of the game, it didn't derail them enough, because they were able to make plays. And again, Deshon Elliott, I thought, was a big part of that. But it does make you raise concerns if they don't think they can get Corey Trice back at some point this year and he can't stay healthy. Maybe the Steelers do need to go out and find another cornerback here. Now, that might not be the biggest concern right now, because I do think that a big concern is Calvin Austin, who is a playmaker in this offense, despite him not always having the stats. He got in the way on DK Metcalf's touchdown to throw a little bit of a block to help seal it off at the end. We know how fast and how much of a playmaker he is when he's on the field. He had a catch. It looked like he popped up and he seemed all right afterwards, but Ben Skoranek, it looked like he told him to stay down and to let the trainers look at him. And then he was reportedly seen in an ambulance later, but not like in an ambulance that seemed like rushed to the hospital, more so just like he was getting treated there. And part of me wondered if that was just what they needed. Now, he was also seen in the sling. It's possible maybe his shoulder got separated. I haven't seen the details on that just yet. But with Calvin Austin, you're hoping that it's not a long-term injury, because if he goes down, then you are down to, because he kind of was becoming your wide receiver 2, not becoming, I think he was their wide receiver 2 for sure, with the way they were using him. But then now the pressure's on that you're going to have to actually use Roman Wilson or Scotty Miller or one of these other guys that you've been kind of just hiding on the depth chart or not using in your personnel packages while you throw out all these tight ends. Or you need to throw your tight ends a lot more, which the Steelers, I think, it's tough to be too mad at Arthur Smith. with the way that they played in this game, because I thought in general, Arthur Smith called a good game. And against Brian Flores, by the way, who everyone said the Steelers should have kept over Terrell Austin, and Terrell Austin set a better game than him. I don't know. But I looked at this offense and I thought, man, there were things moving here. So I can't get too much on Arthur Smith, but if Calvin Austin's down, they're going to need those tight ends to work into the pass game more. And they're going to need to find ways to get him involved. They're also going to need to eventually involve Rowan Wilson, because I think that I've seen good things out of Rowan Wilson. Someone was asking me during the game, why is Rowan Wilson out there? I got to say, I don't know, because I haven't seen the things that would show that he regressed in practice or throughout the weeks. And maybe he has in the meeting room, and there's just things we're not seeing there. But I also said this at the start of the season: if you do go get that super primo number 2 wide receiver in a big trade this year, your Brandon Ayuk Chase that everyone always wants to go for, whoever you get there, you are putting Calvin Austin in a situation where he's just probably not going to get a whole bunch of this offense, because this offense is not designed for 3 wide receivers. It's designed for running backs, it's designed for tight ends, and 1 prime playmaker wide receiver with other guys kind of filling in. And I think that's the situation the Steelers are in right now, which is why I don't think the Steelers need to go out and get a big name at wide receiver if Calvin Austin's going to miss even a little bit of time. He's missing big time. They do need to go out and get somebody else just to add to the depth chart there. A veteran who can fill in, know his role. I know some people are going to say Deontay Johnson. No, but I do think that there's going to be a big question is who, if you need to find someone there. If he turns out he's ready to go after the bye, fine, then disaster averted. But that could be a big concern. You also want to know what's going on with Jaylen Warren. It seemed like it was a last minute call to bench him, which means he should be back in 2 weeks after the bye and ready to go. But this is the thing that I was concerned about going into the year, is that Jaylen Warren's never had to take on the load of being the number 1 running back, and he has to miss the 4th game of the year, being banged up a little bit. This is the thing I was concerned about long term for Jaylen Warren. And I do think that there's, that you got to hope he can come back and be healthy, because I do think that Jaylen Warren, with an offensive line that played the way it did as far as run blocking this Sunday and in Ireland against the Vikings, he gets that, Jaylen Warren becomes even more dangerous than Kenneth Gainwell, because I think he runs harder. I think Gainwell's technically faster, but I think that I like the way that Jaylen Warren runs on contact and is able to keep a center of balance, a center of gravity while on contact, because I think that's how he creates a lot of missed tackles in the game and creates extra yards for the offense. But both players, I think, good at what they do and can fit what the Steelers are doing. I think you saw a lot more of those runs off the tackle. It opened up a lot more space, let this offensive line run a bit, and they got more things going. But I think all in all, the injuries aren't an alarm yet, but they should be a warning. The Steelers need to be careful moving forward, or at least be not careful. That's not the right word. Mindful, I think, is the right word, as far as keeping eyes on free agents, other trades they might want to make, and other things they want to do to make sure that they're still ready, even if the injury bug bites them the way it has early in the season. We'll talk more about this as the season continues, as the week continues. Excuse me. It's the bye week. I'm still here in Dublin for a little bit longer. We're gonna have more things to break down. I'm gonna do my best to break down film while I'm here. I got to see what the internet's like sometimes, man. But we're going to do our best to do that, to break things down. I do think there's a lot of guys, a lot of stars this week, and some guys who I've been grading harshly. So we'll break down all of that on the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, wherever you get social media, same handle everywhere. It's at Carter Critiques. You can read my work at the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette by going to post-gazette.com. You can find me here on every day, Monday through Friday, on your favorite podcasting apps and on YouTube. Like this if you enjoyed. Subscribe to this channel to get all of those Monday through Friday episodes. Back here tomorrow with some Steelers grades right here on the Locked On Steelers podcast.